So welcome to the final installment of Introducing. Today we'll be introducing Guild, but before I do that, obviously quick announcement again, if somehow you haven't seen this, I will be co-streaming the VCT Masters Copenhagen game, so if you want to come join me on Twitch, the link is in the description down below. We'll obviously be analysing the games, I'll have stats for you all prepared and all of that, so that will be fun, I'm sure. But let's come back to Guild, who are of course from EMEA. They finished as the EMEA third place team. Their Masters 1 performance, they were not present, they weren't there at Iceland, and their expectation, I put group stage ? I've seen a lot of people just writing off Guild straight away because they are in the group with both Optic and Loud, the two finalists from Masters 1, so of course it will be very, very difficult for them to get out of that group. But I do think that it is possible. Now, not likely, I don't think it's likely to happen, but I do think it is possible. I've seen a lot of people just straight up, writing off any chance that they could get out. But I do think there is a chance. I do think they are better than people think in their minds, and I'll explain that in a bit. But their style is a slow, methodical, team play style. They aren't really a team that, wows you in any kind of way. They're just kind of solid in all areas and play pretty slow. I think that's why a lot of people, kind of aren't really on the Guild train, because you might see them as a bit of a boring team, that don't really do anything like super crazy and play pretty slow. So, I can understand that people, kind of maybe aren't too hyped to see Guild play necessarily. But I have put don't underestimate them. And I think the reason that a lot of people are underestimating Guild, in my opinion, is that the most recent memory of Guild was them getting thrashed by FPX. And that is absolutely fair. They did get thrashed in that game, that lower final. But actually, I've seen other people say, oh, and they got thrashed by Fnatic. That is not true, actually. If you go back and watch the games, and obviously I did go back and watch those games for this video, the game against Fnatic was very, very close on both maps. The Bind map, Fnatic won the first 3 rounds of both halves, but actually in full gun rounds, Guild kind of more than held their own and, could have potentially taken, one of the best Bind teams in the world, could have taken that map off them. And then Haven was 13-11, where if a couple gunfights go a bit different, they probably win that map. And had Guild beaten Fnatic, I don't think anyone would be saying like, oh, this team has no chance, right? I think expectation would be a lot different for Guild, and everyone would be a bit worried that Optic might lose. I do think that is a possibility. Not likely, but a possibility. In terms of the members of Guild, we have Holden Mentor, who is their IGL, who mostly plays smokes, as you can see. We got Russ, who's kind of a support initiator player. Leo, who is one of the best initiators in the world, and most people will agree with that. I mean, just look at the stats. They are pretty insane overall for the agents that he's playing. And this is against good competition as well, don't forget. Trex is kind of a hybrid Sentinel duelist. They kind of went back and forth with Safe and Trex on who would play duelist, who would play the Sentinels. You can see that Safe is the main chamber player, but yeah, they kind of had a bit of an interesting swap kind of midway through, but it seems that both are pretty good at both roles, and they found success with playing both roles. So we'll see what they do when it actually comes to Copenhagen, but yeah, both very, very skilled players in their own right. So with the clips, let's start here with round number 11 in this Fnatic Guild game on Bind, because as I said, this game was not a complete write-off for them. You can see it's 5-5 at this point coming into round 11, and what we've got is Guild are on the attacking side and Fnatic have a Viper's Pit here, as you can see, towards long, and so Guild initially, as you can see, started to come this way, but then seeing the Viper's Pit, decided to come back the other way instead. But I'm going to love what they do here. Obviously, they're not going to take the risk into this Viper's Pit. I mean, there's really no way you can really get past that. It's such a strong Viper's Pit. So what they decide to do is attack towards Hooker instead, right? And it looks like they're going to use a Prowler. They actually don't use a Prowler. They're going to use the Skydog instead and see that Mystic is in here with a Judge. So they know that Mystic with a Judge, even after the Skydog, is probably going to stay close, right? That makes sense. So what they do is they do a really nice little Seize Nade combo. You see the timing is really good there, and Mystic is just absolutely screwed, and he dies. Now, whilst that's going on, you can see the kills start to come in as well. They, obviously saw the danger Fnatic and decided to go for a triple teleport play, but Guild seemed more than ready for it. As you can see by how quickly those kills came in, they seemed very ready that was a possibility, and so they all just start spamming the door. They start just getting a ton of kills. Enzo does actually manage to get one. but they just get an absolute ton of kills. We end up with just Enzo and Alfia left. And again, they group up as a team. They obviously know that the other site is free at this point. So again, they're just going as a team. Enzo does manage to get one, but then he is traded out. And we end up in this 3v1. And you see, like, this is Guild, right? They had a pretty good plan of what they wanted to do. They executed well with their utility. And then they go as a team. They play well as a team. And they're going to end up winning this round. Just that this is Guild. There really isn't much else to say. I mean, we can run this a bit faster forward because obviously it is just Alpha in a 1v3, but eventually he is just going to save, as you can see. And now let's come to round number 19 on the same map. So Guild are now on the defensive side, and what I really like here from this round is that it shows me they had a pretty good understanding of what Fnatic were going to do. Fnatic really like to go B on this map, and one thing that they really like to do when they go B is have Alfia in this spot here doing lineups from down here to like these kind of areas, and also putting up this kind of, you know, default Viper look here where you put the orb in here. And what this allows him to do is kind of pressure towards B, but then also threaten that he could be coming back towards A. And generally this is something that Fnatic have found a lot of success with, but Guild know this, right? And so I really like what they do in this round because they're going to punish this from Fnatic, because they often just leave Alfia all on his own here towards this A site. So you see we got 4 players actually from Guild towards A here, and once they kind of clear out and kind of find out that, you know, people aren't really towards this A side, they come up with a really good idea, I think, to punish Fnatic essentially. So you see they send out the Fade Haunt here, they send out the Prowler as well, and it clears out towards Deep Shower, and so they get that control. And also one crucial thing here is actually Alfia has put his Viper Orb here to try and protect himself, right? And so it isn't here, and that means that Trex can actually see down here and see that, yeah, this lurk isn't coming through, there is no one here, we should be good. And that means that, again, they get a pretty good idea that the pressure is coming towards B, and probably Alfia is here on his own, right? So Safe actually sees that one of the Viper Mollies has landed there. Dog comes through the teleporter. You see that the Fnatic Dog is coming up towards B there as well. And so that gives them all the information they need. They pretty much know that Alfia is right here and that the rest of the team are probably towards B. And so that gives them the idea, okay, well, let's just push the 4 stack on him then, and we should get this kill. And that is exactly what happens, because after he realizes and the Viper Orb goes down, yeah, he's dead. And so they get the first kill, and then they send a Boombot out here, and they just start to run away, right? They send a flash out towards Shower, make sure nothing's close there. It isn't, and so they just run away. They end up in this 5v4. Really, really good idea from Guild overall. And that obviously caused a bit of panic for Fnatic, because they initially started to come back here to see if they could trade the kill. It wasn't there, and that means that Safe has now been able to re-push towards this angle here, and it means that Fnatic are all coming through Hooker instead. So what that means is you just got Safe in this angle here. He manages to pick off Durka as he's coming into the site. He does get maybe a little overeager here and re-peeking, because he does die there. And so we end up in this 4v3. But now what we're going to see is just the cascade of utility to stop Fnatic from planting. You see the Raise Nade is the first one to go in. That stops Enzo from planting. And he's also waiting for the Brimble here, right? He tapped it once and then he tries to stick, but then the Brimble does come out. And so the time is starting to tick now, right? And they kind of are slowly losing, right? They slowly lost Elbow as Leo has managed to walk his way up there and see that no one's there. So Gil has kind of taken back a bit of map control here. Mystic feels like, okay, I need to try and like fight to try and secure this plant because we're in just a bit of trouble. He actually dies there and loses that fight to Trex. And now Enzo feels like he has to do the same because now Trex is coming in towards the site. So he tries to fight as well. Coldamenta trades that kill out. We end up with Boaster in a 1v3 and they mop it up. It's a really, really nice round from Guild. Really good idea to try and punish Fnatic for what they often do. And then just a very, very solid kind of retake. The cascade of utility to stop the plant. It was all really, really nice. And now let's come to round 5 of Haven against Fnatic as well. And we're going to see a really, just another really good round from Guild. They kind of fake B pressure. They're actually on a save this round. Only Coldamenta has a gun. And they kind of fake some pressure here. And it's really, really good, right? So they've got this Omen Smoke on top of kind of the gen in the middle of B site. And they kind of, have thrown a Fade Haunt in here towards B as well. You can see it's dragged rotations early. They've actually given up a main control here to Fnatic. And that means that just one player is watching it. They actually fake the Omen TP. They send a Prowler in. They fake this pressure, right? And they get pushed back. Omen Flash comes out. Breach Stun comes down here from Fnatic. Fnatic as a reaction, and they're going to destroy this chamber trap as well with a smoke in towards Garage. So again, Fnatic, you know, they thought they were going to B, now they've started to come towards Garage. You can see that Fnatic's reaction is to go there, but now they're coming back towards A. And this, I think, is just a really, really smart idea, because after you've done all of this pressure and you haven't shown anything towards A, this will be the often thing that happens where you'll just have one person watching. But when you're on a save, it's perfectly fine to take a risk. And so now you're thinking like, okay, well, there's probably only one person there. If we can kill them, you know, we should be good onto the A site, right? And so that is kind of the idea that they come up with here. And luckily they have Safe, who really can hit some shots, as we'll see in this round. So they know that basically one person is going to be here just watching A main. And there he is, and he dies, right? Safe hits a really nice shot onto Enzo. And so now the decision is, let's just go fast, right? That should be the one player on A. You see that Guild have a pretty good tactical understanding of what's going on. Coldamenta, you know, is calling pretty well here. Safe is just going to hit another insane shot, which helps. And so they managed to get into the site. It's a really, really good idea to pressure other parts of the map, knowing that maybe only one person will be watching A, and if you can kill that person, you're on a save, and then you have a free site, right? You start to see, as Fnatic tried to come back in, we get some really good utility coming out from the side of Guild. Boaster is on the flank down here, and is going to manage to catch Safe off, be a bit further ahead than perhaps he realized. So we end up in this situation, 4v3, and again, they're still on a save. You see that we picked up a gun here, but not much else. They ult to push them back, right? And that means that Boaster kind of gets a bit isolated here. He's kind of fighting before everyone else is. He does manage to get one, but gets traded out, and that's fine because Russ didn't even have a gun. So that's all good as well. Mystic is going to somehow manage to do that and find that kill, but whilst that's gone on, Leo has actually found Durka as well. So we end up in a 2v1, and they will win this round, right? Really, really good understanding, I think, from Guild of kind of like the tactical side of what's going to go on in Haven. The pressure that they put towards B and Garage allowed the opening to kind of come towards A. Safe hit some really nice shots, and they win the round. And now let's come to round number 7, and the same thing is true in this, and the way that they play the 3v3 at the end is very good. So it starts off with Safe here, and we get an early battle for A main, but it's really, really good what Safe does, right? He shoots the dart, he shoots the boombot, he kind of shows that, they might want towards A. They destroy the trap in towards Garage as well, so they kind of are already threatening quite a lot here, our Guild. Alfia does push up, but he shoots that, so he feels like he has to come back, and again, they're worried, right? And so what that does is it freezes these players here on A, because Guild kind of threaten like, we could actually come towards A at any moment. But as we can see, they're actually all towards C here as they go for kind of a C split. We get a really nice flash here from Russ. We get a really nice fade ult coming out as well. Trex is almost able to kill Durka, who's just able to teleport away there. Boaster gets caught out by Safe, and we end up in this position. Now, Durka's going to get 2 because he's Durka, but, you know, if this was probably a lot of other players, they would have probably only got 1 there. But Leo does manage to eventually trade it out. We end up in a 3v3, but I love the way that they play this 3v3, as you will see. So Coldamenta is going to tap the spike. 2 of them actually go back towards Garage and secure that control. We're actually going to get a flash from Coldamenta towards spawn to allow him the time to plant, and a drone comes out here, and Safe basically baits for Leo, right? He takes the tag of the drone and runs away, so that when they start to come back in here, you can see that Enzo's always focusing on Safe, and actually Leo is just still tucked in the corner below him and manages to get that kill, and then jumps up and actually starts to get a bit aggressive. Now, whilst that's gone on, Alfia has come here onto site, as you can see, and Coldamenta has just TP'd away somewhere. Thing is, he has no idea where, right? And there's this smoke here, so he thinks that it must be in the smoke. Whilst that's gone on, Leo again has pushed up towards the window and actually swung now and caught out Mystic as well. And Alfia, you can see he has no idea where Coldamenta has gone. He thinks he's gone into the smoke, and now they just toy with him, right? Again, a really nice idea. Safe TP's back so that they can get someone on long as well. He peeks, and then Coldamenta's gonna just jump peek there. You see they just stop playing with him, essentially. Again, really nice. The Fade Haunt comes out as well. They're literally on all 3 sides of him. You know, this is unwinnable at this point. It's just really, really nice overall. Leo even feels that Alfia is probably going to start trying to push one of the players, and so he comes back to Coldamenta. Coldamenta finds the kill. Really, really nice on the whole from Guild. But my criticism for Guild is this, that sometimes they are a pretty slow team, but sometimes it is way too slow, as we'll see in this round, round 3 against FPX, because this is actually the bonus round for FPX. But you know, we're down under a minute already, and essentially Guild haven't really done much. They started here, they walked back over here, now they're walking back over here, they've walked underneath. They're gonna like try and almost fake that they're coming towards B. They smoke off both of this, they send out a stun, but the time is just always ticking, right? The time is completely ticking. You see that does start to bring Angel across over towards A. But now, again, they just kind of end up in this space where they don't really know what to do. We get a one-way towards A main, you can see here, and that just completely stops these two players because they don't have any utility to get past that one-way, so they get completely stopped. The Astra Stars start to actually come in towards A, so now the rotates come in towards the other side instead. You see that the Omen still had 2 smokes, we've still got a C, so we've got it all, right? They haven't really baited out any utility. You see that Zipan still got his nade as well. You know, there really wasn't a lot going on here. Viper Molly comes in to try and get past this one-way for them, and which it does, but then the Omen Flash comes here towards Dish, and all of a sudden there's 15 seconds left, and they aren't, you know, near towards getting this site, so they kind of just have to blindly push. Safe actually does manage to get that kill, but then they just have to kind of jump in onto site and hope. And Angel just finds 2 kills there, finds the 3rd as well, and now we end up in a situation where there's 5 seconds left. They don't have the spike. They never even actually touched the site, really. You know, they just about touched the site there of the people who dropped Dish, but we end up with a save of 2 people, and this was on a bonus just because they played so slowly. When it comes to Guild's maps, you see that there aren't too many like dominant sides that they have. They're kind of okay in like a lot of areas. In my mind, both Breeze is probably one of their strongest maps. Actually, Haven is. I feel like this number is a bit of a lie. One of these losses was against Na'Vi in a meaningless game for them, and then the other 2 losses came against FPX and Fnatic in the final 2 games against pretty good opposition. So I wouldn't take too much into this. I still think that Haven is pretty good, but yeah, aside of Haven and Breeze, they're just kind of average on a lot of the other maps overall, and you know, aren't too convincing maybe anywhere. When it comes to the agents that they like, this is kind of reminiscent to me of Xset, where it's kind of a lot of agents are just kind of like about average overall, which is quite interesting, which you can see where there's a lot of like light green and greens, not too much purple, not too much red. You can see that they are an Omen team over Astra team, and actually they are kind of alongside Xerxia, the kind of second team that are maybe somewhat out on chamber, at least compared to the norm, and you know, that is a lot of it going back to Killjoy instead, so that's kind of an interesting little change for them as well. But as you can see, most agents they kind of pick about normally. They do play quite a bit of Raze, but other than that, you know, everything is just kind of about where it is. They don't seem to have, you know, too many major preferences for any particular agents other than maybe Omen over Astra. And when it comes to their pistol and eco rounds, again, very solid across the board. Our guild, as I said, compared to like most teams that are coming to Copenhagen, we obviously expect that most teams that are qualifying for international events would be doing pretty well in these areas. So again, guild are kind of another one of those teams kind of in probably the middle of the pack when it comes to these type of rounds. And so that was the end of the introducing series. I hope you all enjoyed it. We finished here with Guild, who are a team that I think, you know, could do some damage. If you are an Optic fan, I would not be thinking that, oh yes, we got Guild, that's a free win. I definitely don't think it will be that easy. They will bring and pose some challenges to Optic for sure, but obviously it will be pretty tough for Guild being in a group with both Optic and Loud.